flax fibres as they arrive at the mill for spinning. The fibres vary in length, and numbers of them may be stuck together. So they are drawn by hand over a series of metal spikes. These spikes separate the fibres and take out some of the shorter ones. The operator takes handfuls, or pieces as they're called, of these fibres and lays them down. He then places these pieces criss-cross to make a bundle. Bundles large enough for convenient handling are taken away. They are now ready for the first machine process. It is in this process that the fibres are combed. This is a hackling machine where the actual combing takes place. Let's follow the stages in this machine from beginning to end. First, a boy takes pieces from the bundle and places them, two at a time, in the machine. Here, like a letter U upside down, they hang over a bar of metal. Automatically, another bar is screwed down, thus clamping the two pieces together. They are now passing into the part of the machine where the combing or hackling is done. Only one leg of the U is dealt with at first. The other is combed later. Coming along from the left, the pieces turn at right angles and then pass between a series of steel combs on moving belts. At first, the pins or teeth of these combs are spaced about 6 to the inch, but at the far end of the machine, there may be as many as 60 pins to the inch. You can see the different spacing of the pins as they pass through the fibres. Down the machine from left to right towards the boy. They're lifted up, moved on, then lowered to the combs. They come out. The first stage of the combing is finished, but notice that the fibres still vary in length. Here's how the shorter ones are removed. The pieces that pass on now have one half in which the fibres are much the same in length. Now the other half must be combed. The difference between combed and uncombed parts shows very plainly here. The clamp is unscrewed and the fibres moved over so that the whole length is treated. At last, the completely hackled pieces are removed from the machine and again placed criss-cross in bundles. The bundles are weighed and are then piled up to await the next stage. It is in this stage that the flax is spread and drawn to length. Between these two girls is a wide belt, slowly moving from right to left. Bundles of hackled fibres are delivered to this machine, and the girls pick up pieces and carefully place them on the moving belt. They are very particular about the amount of overlap of one piece on the one before it. The four streams move along slowly. Each passes under a roller. After the rollers come the moving bands of gripper pins. Held by these gripper pins, the streams are carried towards four larger rollers. These move a little more quickly than the bands, thus drawing out the fibres in continuous lengths. Continuous lengths. There is no sign of any join or overlap. This is what happens to the streams. Each is pressed down into a bin. We must now call these long lengths of fibres sliver. Sliver from 6 bins is now taken to feed another machine. This sliver is drawn upwards, over pulleys, passes to the right, and then down again. under rollers to more gripper pins. This time the streams are narrower. Let's look more closely at what is happening. Underneath each stream is an endless belt of pins. Units, each having a double row of pins, move into position, and the pins pierce through the sliver from below. Again, rollers draw the fibres out through the pins. They pass down through slots. This time, all 6 streams are going to be rolled together. Once through the slots, they meet and form one stream. Let's look at that again. 6 streams meet and form one, after which the one passes under a roller as before and into a bin. This is repeated a number of times, the sliver being drawn out further and further until the original width of 6 inches is reduced to about 1/4 of an inch. This sliver is now ready for twisting, the first stage of which is called roving. Here is sliver passing into bins and almost ready for roving. Sliver is fed from these bins into a roving machine. The width is reduced and the length increased by the same means as before. In the end, the sliver arrives at the spindles, which put the first and rather loose twist on it. This is what the sliver looks like just before it is twisted. Each line is going to a spindle, which it enters through a hole at one end. Almost at once it passes out through another hole in the side of the spindle and down one of the arms of the flyer. In spinning round, the flyer gives a twist to the thread and winds it onto the bobbin. In order to make the wind even, the flyers move up and down over the bobbins. These bobbins hold the rove, which is between 5 and 12 times as thick as the finished yarn. The rove is now ready to be spun into yarn. This is the machine which completes the operation of spinning. All along the top are scores of bobbins containing the rove. The rove is drawn from the bobbins into a vat of hot water, closed by wooden lids. The hot water softens the natural gum that surrounds the fibres, so that when they're spun and the gum has set again, a firm, strong thread results. Here is a row of the spindles that do the final spinning. Above them, you can see hot water dripping off the rove. Very careful looking will enable you to see the steady rise and fall of the flyers as they wind the yarn onto the bobbins. A good place to see this is at the bottom edge of the picture, a little to the right of the center. The wet yarn is now reeled to hanks. The bobbins, while still wet, are placed in position at the top. Let's see her replace an empty one and join the yarn to that already wound on the hank. Up and down as it was wound on by the flyer and on to the hank. There's always an empty bobbin to be replaced by a full one. These hanks will soon be taken off the machine. They are now ready to be dried and bundled. Drying is done by hanging the hanks on bars on an endless chain. The chain takes them right up into a drying room and brings them back dry to the same place. Here they are passing down and out of the drying chamber. They are now ready for bundling. For ease of packing and transport, bundling is neatly done in a machine like this. The hanks are pressed very tightly together and tied up. The spinner's work is finished. All these bundles are ready to be taken to the weaver, who will use the flax yarn for making linen.